I'm going to introduce Shadoe Stevens, a dear friend of mine. Shadoe has been in the industry for a very long time. I won't date him or age him by telling him how long he's been in the industry. He can tell us. But, a lot of us know him from, when he was doing Hollywood Squares, or when he took over for Casey Kasem in the Countdown, or when he was the announcer for the Craig Ferguson show, or when he got inducted into the Hall of Fame for radio and DJing, or soon to be getting his Walk of Fame star, when he was doing Federated, or when he was an actor on some pretty hit TV shows. Like, I could go on and on and on. Needless to say, this man is a legend in my eyes, and I'm so happy he's here. He is going to share with us how come he never gave up when it got real dark, and he's seen some dark times. And so, Shadoe, if you could share with us how you stayed in the industry so long, and some of the new current stuff that you're working on. And then when we're done, we'll have some questions and answers. And then Shadoe's going to lead us in a guided meditation. And it's not your traditional meditation. And I'll let him explain all that. So let's put our hands together, SLS style, for Shadoe Stevens.
Hey, Shadoe.
Good Lord, man. Good Lord. Thanks, Tony. I do love what you're doing there. And Ken is one of the smarter people I've met in recent years, and I appreciate being in your company.
Oh, thanks.
I do this. I suffocate under the weight of my own obsession. And one of my obsessions is to write everything down. I take notes copiously. I carry notes in my car. I carry my journal. Legal pads.
Wow.
Notes in iPhone. And one of the things I found, and I'll go into this in some degree because these are hard-earned, learned habits, born out of a time before social media where we could learn everything instantly and have instant access. One of the things I found, speaking of instant access, is a quote that was supposedly from Ernest Hemingway. It turns out he didn't actually write it, but the writing is so good that I thought I'd read it to you, and it goes like this: "The hardest lesson I have to learn as an adult is the relentless need to keep going, no matter how broken I feel inside. This truth is raw, unfiltered, and painfully universal. Life doesn't stop when we're exhausted, when our hearts are shattered, when our spirits feel broken. It keeps going. It keeps moving, unyielding, indifferent, demanding that we keep pace. There's no pause button for grief, no intermission for healing, no moment when the world gently steps aside and allows us to mend. Life expects us to carry our burdens in silence, to push forward despite the weight of all we carry inside. The cruelest part? No one really prepared us for this. As kids, we heard stories of resilience wrapped in hopeful endings and tales where pain has purpose and every storm clears to reveal a brighter horizon. But adulthood strips away all those comforting illusions. It teaches us that survival is rarely poetic. More often, it's about showing up when you'd rather disappear, smiling through pain no one sees, and carrying on despite feeling like you're unraveling from the inside out. And yet somehow we persevere. That's the quiet miracle of being human. Even when life is relentless, even when hope feels distant, we keep moving. We stumble, we break, we fall to our knees, but we get up. And in doing that, we uncover a strength we never knew we had. We learn to comfort ourselves in the ways we wish others would. We become the voice of reassurance, the reassurance we once searched for. Slowly, we realize that resilience isn't always about grand acts of bravery. Sometimes it's just a whisper. Keep going. Yes, it's exhausting. Yes, it's unfair. And yes, there are days when the weight of it all feels unbearable. But every small step forward is proof that we haven't given up, that we are still fighting, still holding on, still refusing to let the darkness consume us. That quiet defiance choosing to exist, to try, to hope, is the bravest thing that we can do. And now, here's some of the story. I was born in Jamestown, North Dakota, a little town in the middle of nowhere. I had a magical childhood. I'm the oldest of 5 children. My parents didn't drink or smoke or use drugs or curse. They didn't fight in front of the kids, and my parents owned toy stores and clothing stores, a go-kart track, and fireworks stands on the 4th of July. Sound good enough yet? Well, it gets better. We had lake homes and water skiing. And I didn't drink through high school, and I didn't use drugs, and I got busy. From the very beginning, my mother taught me how to play records on a little record player when I was 2 years old, and she said, you were obsessed. It's like all you wanted to do was keep playing records. I played these records over, and then she taught me to read, and then she taught me to draw. And when I drew something that she really liked, she raved, and I was hooked. It's what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I want to do art. Then when I was 8, my dad bought a tape recorder, and I learned how to record and tell little stories. And I figured out that you could say part of the story, put it on pause, record a sound effect or a piece of music, put it on pause again, then tell more of the story. And I could make these long strings of stories. And I did this obsessively. Now, I get to be 10 years old, and my uncle, who owned some radio stations, heard that I was obsessed by telling these little stories, and he sent me a kit, and it was called a wireless transmitter, and it would allow you to broadcast from your bedroom to the living room on the radio. It was like magic. So I soldered it all together. I could follow directions, and I built this little thing, and then I took it to the television repair shop, and I said, how do I soup this up? And he told me what to do, condensers and this and that. And then he said, but you got to put up a big antenna. So this is where the story gets really unusual. Let me try and find this picture, because I have to have proof of everything that I'm about to tell you. I wanted to show you the picture of our house, because what I did was I climbed up to the top of the house. I may not be able to find it here while I'm on the spot. I knew this was going to happen. A 3-story house with, like this, crawled up with a wire between my teeth and a hammer in my pocket, and crawled out to the edge and hung upside down and hammered in this loop to the top of the house. Then strung the wire to the backyard, climbed a tree in the backyard, and attached another loop. Now I had a 100-foot antenna, and I could broadcast a mile in every direction. It was amazing. Now I'm hooked. This is what I did. It's like every day I had my pirate rock and roll radio station. I was playing Little Richard and Fats Domino and Chuck Berry and all my favorite black music. It was great. And we would go out in the car and we'd go, oh, we could hear it all the way out here. And now the neighbors are listening. Now, when I'm 11, and this I can show you, I was walking down the street, and the guy from one of the 2 local radio stations was doing a show called Man on the Street. And he talks to me, says, so what are you interested in? Well, I'm, art and radio. I go, radio, really? What kind? I go, well, I have this radio station that I built. And he was fascinated. He said, come down to the station. We should put you on the air. So he takes me down to the station. And by the end of that conversation, he had taken my picture. Let's see if I can get this up here. And it was in the paper as world's youngest disc jockey. Can't make this stuff up. And there it is. Can you see that? There it is. Me at 11 with my stack of 45s.
Nice.
So now, I'll go back here. I do this, and it's on every Saturday morning. And then I worked at the radio station as I got older. And then when I got into high school, I still worked on the weekends, but then in the summer, I would take a job and go work on the railroad. And I worked for a while on a railroad section crew in Gackle and Zap, North Dakota. Now, Gackle and Zap, if I had only found a Pop, I would have had Zach Gackle and Pop. But we lived in a boxcar and would work from 5 in the morning until 8 at night. And it isn't like you come back home at the end of the day to your boxcar and the maid has been in there cleaning up. You go in there with a bunch of sweaty, smoking, farting, salt of the earth men into your boxcar, into your bunk for the night. I did this all summer to make as much money as I could. Also, I worked on a farm. Now, we would haul bales from early in the morning until late at night, like 5 in the morning till 8 at night again. And I worked for aliens. I should tell you this story because it's so weird. It's in Spiritwood, North Dakota, and they were little people, not very tall. The owner of the farm, it was his family, and they had mushroom heads. They had these little kind of small jaws, and their heads actually went out like this at the top. And the kids were all had the same thing. And at the time, we just thought, this is weird. But, just people. And we work real hard from early in the morning till late at night, hauling bales. And you put hooks through bales, and you lift them up over your head and throw them into the truck from 5 in the morning until 8 at night. And come home and have big Thanksgiving-like dinners. And and we would tell jokes. And so, like, say the end of the joke was, and he turned to me and said, Zenith. And everybody would laugh, ha, ha, ha. Now, the alien man would go, for the next 10 minutes, every few minutes he'd go, Zenith. I did that my whole life. It became part of like one of the things I did on the radio. I would just do this little, I'd use it on Federated later on. Later, and I realized, they really were aliens. And it wasn't until just a couple of years ago that I couldn't remember what their name was. And nobody I knew in Jamestown remembered the names of the little alien people. And in fact, they didn't even remember them. So I thought, am I insane? So I finally, a couple of years ago, I get a hold of a friend of mine that I went to high school with. And I called him. I said, Ray, you remember when we worked on the farm? Yeah. And the hauled bales? Yeah. And remember the little weird people, the little alien people? And he goes, yeah. I said, I always remembered that they had a name that an alien would make up, to fit in. And it sounded like something Ray Bradbury would do. And he goes, oh, Virgie Shock. Virgie Shock? That's the greatest name I could ever think. Of course. So I worked for aliens. Now, I go off to the University of North Dakota, and I major in art. And I'm putting myself through school with radio. And I wasn't really very good. I had a lot of enthusiasm, but I should play you tapes. You would laugh. In my 4th year of college, I went to the University of Arizona. I had another job, a bigger job, and worked for a better radio station. And it got a lot better. And I was going to school full time and working full time. And I got a job in Boston after my 5th year of college. And I went to Boston. Now, by this time, I'd gotten married and I had a son, and it was difficult, and Boston was rough. It wasn't like Tucson, Arizona, where you walk into the 7-Eleven and they go, hey, good morning, how are you? Coffee? They would say, what do you want? Coffee? It was like, oh man, this is too much for me. It's like, but I worked real hard in Boston, and things got better, and things got better and better. And I did really well, and I got huge ratings, and the station was huge. And now we had like 33% of all people listening to the radio listen to this station. So then I get a job in Los Angeles. They fly me out here, and in a week, all of a sudden I was living in Los Angeles. and I went to work for KHJ. And now I think things are really turned around. Things are going really well. And I'm cast as Steve Allen's sidekick on a Steve Allen nationally syndicated television show. And when it came time to get my full-time, it was in my contract to be the next full-time on-air personality. And I'm use all of these things in later life. I would be writing these things. But anyway, they said, they didn't promote me. They said, no, yeah, we don't know whether you want to be in television or radio. I said, are you insane? It's like television promotes radio, promotes television, promotes radio. It's like a win-win. It's like, come on. Well, no, you can't do that. And I said, I'll tell you what, just put it in my contract that I'll get the next, full-time on air. And you don't have to give me a raise. And they said, well, we can't do that. So I quit. And within 2 days, I was hired by KRLA here in Los Angeles and the other big radio station. And within a couple of months, I said to the manager, I said, we're playing the same music that KHJ is playing. I really think we should be playing music that everybody I know is listening to. Now I'm 24 years old, and I did all this research, Billboard, and I go into the manager, and all I wanted us to do was play good music. And he was so impressed that he fired the program director and made me program director. I'm 24 years old. I'm going, what? I got to figure this out. So I had to figure out what to do. And as it turned out, it turned out amazing. I wrote 50 jingles and produced them. They gave me the budget to do it. It was amazing. I did billboards, Rock with a Grin. I hired the best personalities in the world, B. Mitchell Reed and Brother John Radgren. For those of you that are old enough to remember them, they were amazing. And did amazing promotions. And we owned the town. We became number one. And at the height of all this success, they start telling me they took credit for it, and they started telling me what to do. And then they kept telling me to the point where, and I'm going to bring this up, I knew that it would fail, and I knew that I would be blamed, and I quit. And I quit with this drawing. And part of it said, I had a vision last night, and the vision said to me, my child, quit, there's no hope. And I have no choice but to step aside. I can't do what you want me to do, and I don't think it's going to work. And so I quit. Now, I'm just going to be a personality and go back to art center school and be happy. I'm happy. I'm out of the weight of all this problem. And I go in, and the new program director calls me in one day, and he says, I'm going to have to let you go. And I laughed. I went, you kidding? Got good ratings? He goes, yeah, you're always walking around here smiling. I know you're cynical about what we're doing. I can't have that. I said, are you mad? I'm the only happy person around here. It's like, I'm back in art center school. And he goes, and I talked to him for 2 hours, and he said, well, I'm going to have to go with it. And then I go into the accountant, and the accountant says, he glares at me. I put this in Metal Radio. He glares at me, and he says, I hope you go out and spend this check in the next 2 weeks, and maybe you'll come to the meaning of life. I said, what's the meaning of life, Don? He said, management is God. I went, oh, man, I feel sorry for you. And he shouts, it's true. And he thumped his finger on the desk. It's true. They put the roof over your head, thump. The food in your mouth, thump. Management, thump, is thump. God, thump. I said, okay, see ya. And I left. And I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. And 3 weeks later, they hired me back and gave me a raise. I don't know why. The world is insane. And just when you think you have it figured out, and just when you think you've proven yourself beyond any doubt, anything can happen. Now, this has happened not once, but many times in my life. So then I'm approached by a guy that is putting together a station called K-Rock. And he said, we'd like you to come over and we're going to go get an FM station. And they've got this little FM station or AM station. And it was pretty bad. It was like a top 40 station. And he said, we want you to come over and do something original like you did at KRLA. Now, at KRLA, I was the first person in America to play David Bowie. I had a friend in London when I was program director, and he said, you got to play this new artist. He's amazing. And he sends me the record, Hunky Dory, I think it was, and I played Changes, and then became Space Oddity, and we played and all this stuff we were launching in America. And he said, we wanted you to do something like that for K-Rock. And it was terrible. The KRLA had great stations with engineers, and it was really big time. And this was this funky little station in Burbank. And so he said, what kind of car do you want? Porsche. Okay. What color? Oh, okay. So I went to K-Rock for a Porsche. So I go in there, and there's a whole long story that goes with this. There isn't enough time, but to just keep going. All I can tell you is that there's a hostile overthrow of the company. They fired everyone, including me. Half of the people who had invested in it overthrew the other half. The guy who originally put it together held it together, fired everybody that fired us, fired the sales staff and the programming, everybody, and it was me and a couple of people. And he said, you're going to have to make this work. I went, okay. So I start making changes. And then within a month or so, miraculously, they got this FM station. And now it was K-Rock FM. And I designed the station and the format, which was all up, all rock, all cutting edge music all the time. And it was amazing. It was like energy 24 hours a day. It was really unheard of in 1973. And we took off, and it was exciting. And I have a picture of that too, just to prove that I was there. This is this little, it was actually a pretty big studio. At the time, we'd taken this over KPPC, and there I was with all of these cartridges and da-da-da, da-da-da. So things got really interesting. And then there was Flo and Eddie by the Fireside, Mark Volman and Howard Kalin. I produced their show, Flo and Eddie, from the Turtles, and Keith Moon came, and the who's who of rock stars came. And as all of this, everybody in Los Angeles was listening to K-Rock, we weren't being paid. And they repossessed the Porsche out of my driveway. There was like colored strips down the driveway as they ripped it away. And I was driven from Topanga Canyon to Pasadena every day by the music librarian in his Volkswagen. I couldn't, and everybody was going broke. But the station sounded magic. It was so full of life, and it was so funny. And finally, I couldn't take it anymore, so I quit. And when I quit, the whole staff quit that day. And there's a whole long story that goes with that too, because it was very dramatic and traumatizing. And it went off the air, and I vowed never to go into radio again. It's like, I'm never going to do this again. And then Monty Gast, who is here somewhere in the room, he and I had worked together at KRLA, and he said, let's start a production company. And we had no money. Found a little room on Sunset and Doheny, and we would do commercials and trade them for speakers and for a mixing board and for microphones and things, and worked 18 hours a day. And we're starting to build this thing. And then I get another chance. KMET FM. KMET FM is another floundering FM station. He said, we want you to come in and do what you did with K-Rock. So I go in. And once again, I'm like working full-time at the studio, and then working full-time in the daytime, and built this station up with amazing people, and had huge billboard campaigns. It was phenomenal. Became #1 in 6 months. Great. Biggest success. I was given Radio Personality of the Year award. And then the manager goes, I got to have a talk with you. I want you to terminate such and such, and Brother John and Joe Collins and Ace Young. And I said, why? He said, they're just not working out. You're just not working out. I said, you're not going to make me into you. No, I'm not doing that. Brother John is one of the hardest working people in the world, the voice of God. How dare you? And I wanted to either cry or crawl over the table and beat him senseless. He was a villain in my life. I packed up and moved to the studio. And it was another heartbreaking experience. Vowed never to be in radio again. Started doing commercials. Now Monty's out there and he's selling, and we're going more and more. And now we're getting, really, really successful. And over the years, we ended up doing all the commercials for the Blues Brothers movie and Fast Times at Ridgemont High and 48 Hours, and had big clients. And I had University Stereo. We took from being a bankrupt company to flourishing. And then again, they started doing stuff that just screwed with me, and I quit. And within 2 days, I was hired by Federated to do their radio campaign. And I did their radio campaign, and they were loving it, except that they were thinking about ending radio. And I'm in there talking to them about renegotiating the radio contract. And for 2 hours, he talked about this guy that was doing their television commercials. He'd show them on the big screen TV for 2 hours over and over. He'd say, I can't tell you how much I hate these. It's embarrassing. If I could get them off the air today, I would. Finally, he said, don't you understand? I want something simple and funny that makes people remember the name Federated. Is that too much to ask? And I said, how about this? How about if I do a Dan Aykroyd bassomatic pitch man and talk a mile a minute, and in the end, I'll say Federated smashes prices, and I'll smash a television with a circus hammer. It's the only idea I had. He goes, that's hilarious. Why don't we try it? I went, if we try it and it works, will you give me creative control so I never want to do the same thing twice, or people will want to kill me? And he rolled his eyes and he goes, okay, fine. And that weekend, business went up 500%. And this set off a chain of events that lasted 6 years. And we did 1,100 different television commercials. We did 10 a week, 5 to 10. 1,100, 6 years. Everyone was different. I'll show you a little bit for those of you that aren't in Los Angeles or are too young and missed it. I can give you just a little taste of this. If you're really curious and want to see him, there is a video on YouTube called Bludgeon Advertising. And they're kind of like this.
Federated. Everybody knows Federated has low prices, right? Right. Guarantee it. Guarantee it? Guarantee it in writing. In writing? So what you're saying is it's like a low price guarantee, Ed. They'll match any price in town. Right on. We got a guaranteed low price on the Quasar 13-inch diagonal color TV, $187.23. If you find anything for less within 30 days of purchase, we'll refund the difference plus 10% for your trouble. Guaranteed. In writing. Guarantee it. Yes. So let me get this straight. Federated will.
We're not seeing it. We're seeing you.
Oh, really? Oh, weird. Well, hold it. This is what I was afraid of, Tony.
It's good. It's radio. We got radio. As long as we got sound, we're good. All right. Now we have visuals.
Lord Almighty.
All right. Go ahead.
Back to one. I apologize for this. It was always going. It was going so well. I'll just start.
Yeah. Now we see it. It's all good.
Okay.
Yeah.
And action.
Here's that new TV I got for you.
These are outtakes.
All the kids will laugh at me.
Well, I didn't know.
You probably pay too much.
But I didn't know. I didn't know about figuring. Some more toast? Mom?
Great. One more time. That was great. When you put the toast in the camera, it looked wonderful.
Okay. Yeah, our Quasar. Out for the 13.
Yeah, my head says low prices. My gut says Federated.
Everybody knows Federated has low prices, right? Right! Guarantee it. Guarantee it? Guarantee it in writing. In writing? So what you're saying is it's like a low price guarantee, Ed. They'll match any price in town. Right on. We got a guaranteed low price on the Quasar 13-inch diagonal color TV, $187.23. If you find anything for less than 30 days of purchase, we'll refund the difference plus 10% for your trouble. Guaranteed. In writing. Guarantee it. Yes. So let me get this straight. Federated will guarantee low prices in writing? Any other questions? We're here at Federated just to prove a point. Shoppers here are taking the Federated challenge. Let's watch.
Guaranteed low prices, save you dough. Federated is the place to go.
What's the best taste?
I have to say that Federated has a light, airy, delectable taste.
And now a Federated guaranteed low price on an RCA 19-inch color TV, now $215. Proof positive Federated guarantees low prices in writing. If you find it for less within 30 days of purchase, we'll refund the difference plus 10% for your trouble.
Federated. I'll buy Federated from now on.
Federated. Thank you.
And that's the Federated difference.
Okay, that's enough. But there are hundreds of those.
That was awesome.
So that goes on, and things are really good. It's one of the greatest times I ever had in my life. We had absolute creative control, and we did, like I said, I had my own studio. We would brainstorm on Monday. We would come up with the scripts. We would organize them on Tuesday, shoot them on Wednesday, edit on Thursday, and turn them in on Friday for 6 years. It was during this time that my a drug addiction got hold of me. It had started pretty simply enough with just, a little prescriptions, and then a little weed. I discovered weed, and I had an intoxicating, enlightening experience, and everything got, beautiful. And so I did it all the time. And then there was acid, and there was mescaline, there was peyote, and there was cocaine, and there was crystal meth, and there was. This is a long story, but in the middle of Federated, I was hitting bottom, and I was praying every day, God help me, I don't know how to stop. I don't know how to stop this. And I gained 50 pounds, too, because I didn't stop eating. I didn't stop eating or drinking. Now, by this time, I'm drinking a quart of Canadian Club a day, and tequila and Courvoisier and after-dinner drinks and wine and beer and anything anybody put in front of me, as well as working into the night, and got to the point where I had acute cocaine psychosis. And at the peak, I was in my house, terrified. I was hearing noises outside the window, so I'd put sheets over the windows and the doors, and then put quilts over the sheets. And I had a 12-gauge double-aught buck shotgun and a Beretta and a 45 and a mercenary gun, because I was sure somebody was trying to kill me. It was like insane. I used into convulsions. I used into blackouts where I came to with my car spinning in circles in Topanga Canyon, right up to the edge of the cliff at 4 a.m. Had no idea where I had been for the last 4 hours. And as a symbol of my commitment to stop, I took out my gun and fired it into the air and slowly drove home, got some rest. And on the way into work the next day, I called my dealer because I needed more. Had an overdose in that studio. My friends found me at 4 a.m. and called my family and ganged up on me. I went into rehab, and my life changed. And I came back 30 days later, and I was in a whole different place. And the commercials got great. It was like we turned them out better than ever. They were faster, they were better produced, they were funnier. And everything was going great for a number of years. And when I was 9 months sober, I met my wife, was brought to me with no effort of my own, brought to the studio. A guy that worked for me met her in the bank and brought her in. And oh my God, it's the most beautiful person I've ever seen. And we've been together ever since. Long story with all this stuff. But now, along comes, they sell Federated. And the guy that came in was like Jabba the Hutt. He was this enormous, overweight, ugly man, ugly in spirit. Not just when I first saw him, it was like, oh my God, it's Jabba the Hutt. And they had sold he was the owner of Atari. Atari? Yeah, I think. God, my brain. Anyway, so he buys a company, fires 800 people the first day without severance. People had been there like 15 years. And he said to me, I want you to keep doing those commercials, but I'm going to pay you the kind of money you're getting. I went, okay. But by this time, I had options because along came Hollywood Squares. Now, I'd gone off to make a movie. No, that's another thing that happened. I go to make this movie. I could tell you this whole story about making this movie. It was going to be the hit of, it had Dino De Laurentiis behind it. And they thought it was going to be the next Crocodile Dundee. And it was a funny script. And I go there and I work really hard. And that all falls apart. It's a long story with that. So that's trash. But then there's Hollywood Squares. And Hollywood Squares comes along, and that's a whole story. But now all of a sudden there's nationwide coverage. It's the #1 show on television. It's like huge at that time. And then along comes American Top 40. Now, Casey Kasem left American Top 40, and they auditioned 1,200 people to replace him. And they gave it to me probably because my radio career and because I'd been on television. And all of a sudden, I was on the biggest radio show in the world, and it kept growing to 1 billion people a week in 110 countries. And they flew us around the world. It was amazing. You know, we were in South Africa. I almost died on a safari in South Africa. We were in Japan and China and Norway and like all over. It was remarkable. And then along came Dave's World. I had auditioned. I had done a series that Fred Silverman was behind, and it was actually quite good. Max Monroe, Loose Cannon, it was called, and it was funny, and it was an action parody, but it didn't take off. It only lasted like a couple of months, but then along comes Dave's World. It's a sitcom, and it's got a great cast. Harry Anderson and Meshack Taylor, and that goes on for 4 years. So I'm doing American Top 40. I'm doing Dave's World. American Top 40 is all over the world. Dave's World is a top 20 show, top 10 show for a while. And then Dave's World ended. And it was at 98 episodes. And no one would not only did it end, but American Top 40 ended. They decided that American Top 40 might not be as popular in the future. So they should get out of the production of a show, the expenses, and just distribute Rick Dees. And they announced it on the same day, and I knew nothing about this. So immediately it ends. It crashes, end. Dave's World ends. I was with Howard Stern's agent. He asked me to get another agent, and no other agent would take me. It was like everything ended. I couldn't get advertising, couldn't get radio, couldn't get television. It was the end of the end. So, forced into resiliency, I come up with this idea. And the idea is, everywhere I went in the world, I heard music that was uplifting, even if I didn't understand the language. What if there was a show or company that was just all, we call it the sound of the world in a good mood. And I created something called Rhythm Radio. And Rhythm Radio, now I'm forced to learn a whole bunch of things I never thought in my life I would have to do about how to make presentations and deal with money and budgets and projections and all of this stuff. It was like, oh my God. But I happened to find a lawyer, and the lawyer loved this idea. And I happened to find Charlie Midnight became one of my partners. He was the guy who wrote Living in America for James Brown, and has a storied history of hit music. And we're off and running. We raised money, and it got bigger. And now, at its height, over a period of years, it was on the air in 30 countries. It was on the internet in 7 languages, 24 hours a day. The greatest music in the world. I had a host in Russian and Italian and Spanish and Mandarin and Portuguese, and have I hit them all? French. There were like 7 languages. And it was all this, playing this same, and the music was from everywhere, from France and from Brazil and and it was amazing. So now we sell it to, we're represented by the biggest advertising agency in the world at the time, McCann Erickson. And they loved us. And they sold it to Nescafé out of Vevey, Switzerland. And we had a worldwide coverage, a year deal. It's like $1 million. And they were the title sponsor. Everything was going great. And then the .com crash happened. And they said, the internet's a fluke. And they wouldn't invest in the internet, and they wouldn't invest in syndication. They wouldn't invest. Their advertising was off. Everything was
like
off.
Chicken patties or chili dogs.
Chicken patties or chili
that'd
dogs?
be easy.
You're making an order? Okay, so we struggled to keep it together. We struggled, and once again, years go by, and it finally went bankrupt. And what am I going to do? And each time of each one of these failures, I've had to reinvent myself and learn something new. And it all came with having to do something, having to take some kind of action. So now, once again, I'm starting from scratch. But I think that the action, when you're taking action and you're trying, that it creates a kind of a magnetism around you. And out of the blue comes something. And out of the blue this time came Craig Ferguson. How would you like to be the voice of the Craig Ferguson, show on CBS? Yes. What time would you want me down there? And that goes on for 10 years. Along the way comes Sammy Hagar. He wants to do Cabo Wabo radio. So I sign on and I build this whole radio station in Cabo Wabo Cantina in Mexico, and it was hot rock smuggled across the border from Mexico. It was phenomenal. And I had right here in this studio was a duplicate, and the other was in Cabo. And it got real successful. It became the #1 alternative rock station in the world. And I said, I've got this friend, Monty Gast, who will sell it. And I took it to Sammy, and he said, I'm not going to pay anybody to sell. And I go back to Monty. I say, Monty, you've sold to the Prince of Dubai and to Wynn in Las Vegas and the who's who. And he goes, fine, I'll do it for free for 30%. So I go back to Sammy and I say, he'll do it for free for 30%. 30%? Fuck him, is what he said. So that ended. We're like, well, this isn't going to do well. I keep going. Now I get a little job on the side, but from somebody who wants to do a show called Rock the World, and I create it all right here in my studio. Now all of this includes writing and research and creating. Now I had to learn along the way. I had to learn Pro Tools. I had to learn Final Cut. I had to learn Photoshop. I had to learn all of the tools that we now take for granted that become part of what we are. But because I had to do them, I got good at them. And now it's turned into a place where finally, after many years, COVID hits. On top of everything else, COVID hits, and we're stuck in the house. And I think I'm going to write something that's funny and uplifting, and that's it. And I'll do it art for art's sake, and I'm not expecting to make money with this, but I'll just do it. And I started attracting support. A guy that worked for me at Federated a world-class composer. And he said, you can have all, he said, I did all these movies that never came out. You can have whatever you want. And it's like, now I have cinematic music. People wanted to help write and contribute. People wanted to do voiceovers. So now Mental Radio has become 26 highly produced audio theater episodes. It's had about 1 million downloads, and there's no commercials and there's no sponsorship. There's just art for art's sake, and it's funny and uplifting. And to give you an idea about what it's like, they're all stories and sketches, and they all are about different states of mind. Mental Radio, mentalradio.net, is about how we use our minds. It's about angst and doom and gloom and dreams and faith and joy and, and on and on and on. One of them is about angst, and it's the story of Biff Brando and Piper, who live in an Italian Renaissance mansion on the beach in Malibu. And I'll play you a little piece of it. Biff is the #1 star on soap on the television series Loving Tomorrow, and Piper is so successful that she's like Beyonce. She only has one name. Unfortunately, Biff has a fling with a barista from Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf in Tarzana. And guess who shows up at the beach?
Hey, Biff, bitchin' house catching rays.
And there she was, Coco. He quickly flexed
You
his...
can't see it again.
Oh, you can't hear it again? Okay.
Can't see it.
Oh, I got his... Oh, there isn't anything to see, but I will put this up.
Yeah,
and
we
then you'll
heard
be
it.
able to hear it. Okay, so let's try again, shall we?
How could he forget the barista from Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf in Tarzana? He had to get girlfriend.
I did the eye Linda, and
Okay, I'm going to forget that one for a second. Let me play you this one.
So what do you got going? You heard about the giant lizards and goats?
Yeah, taking over cities.
Got a blood hornet, size of a bat. Got him down in Argentina, doing a little ransom.
The size of a bat? You got it here?
Yeah, it's out in the truck.
I followed him outside Whalen's Kitten Caboodle past the dumpsters to Malone's indigo blue custom lowered 1950 Chevy 350 fuel-injected pickup with flames on the hood and just the right amount of pinstripes. And there it was on the real camel-colored leather seats, a bell jar so big it took 2 hands to pick it up.
Fins, teeth, and stingers.
Stingers? Like more than one?
3 rows of teeth. Look in there. And lots of stingers.
He dropped the jar. I looked on at the hornet shark with its bat wings flapping and saliva coming out of 3 sets of teeth, and it opened its jaws and flew at my face.
And suddenly I left my body and I could see what was happening in slow motion. I could see it for what it was without being afraid. And I thought, wait a minute, it's not like it's a rhinoceros. They're big and they run. I could see it coming at me, and it wasn't a shark, and it wasn't a bee. It was a freak, and it was the size of a bat. So I smashed it with my fist. And it was stunned, stopped in the air, confused. Then it fell to the ground with a thud. And I stomped it with my foot. And I felt good.
So there you are. It's like that. There's a whole bunch of those, and it's sort of like Federated gone mad. All these stories. And 3 years ago, I got a call from Gil Smith, who's, I think, also on this today. And Gil is the president of the Montalban Theater in Hollywood. And he said, one of the things that got me through COVID was listening to Mental Radio at night and laughing and feeling positive. And what do you think about doing it live? It's a live theater. I went, wow, it's the greatest idea I've ever heard in my life. Think we can? He says, yeah, I'm talking like giant screens and surround sound, just like what you, because the podcast series has been reviewed as audio acid and spiritual crack. That's a real, which it kind of is. So I'm going to play you, this has become like our latest obsession. And last year I spent the whole year writing and producing 17 songs for it. And they all turned out really amazing. And it's everything from New Orleans second line music to 1930s swing to Broadway to gospel. It ends on gospel, and it's real big. So here is a taste of that. Here's the video for the current video sizzle, if you will. Let me play it for you.
It's a mental orgasm.
It did it again. Sorry, it did it again. It's just, I knew this would be a problem. I need tech support. Ken, here we go.
Someone to blame. There's always someone to turn on. I got tragic optimism, yeah da 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 da. I got tragic optimism, yeah da 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 da. I got a feeling something good's gonna happen. I got a feeling it's gonna happen right now. I got those 10 little tip tap tapping toes. When I hear it tune, I can't control the dance I did to save my soul. Those weary blues can't get into my shoes because my shoes refuse to ever grow weary. I keep cheerful on an earful of music sweet. Just got those happy feet. That's so good, that's so good, that's so good, that's so good, that's so back in the sky. Put that so good, that's so good, that's so good, that's so good, that's so back in the sky. Back in the sky. Put that sun on, that's sun on, that's sun back in the sky. Put that's my hood, that's my hood, that's my hood, that's my hood, that's my back on the face.
And it's like that.
Yeah, that was awesome.
So thank you. So that's what we've been working on, and it's our current obsession. I also work with a company called Resolutions Treatment in Santa Monica, and I think Michelle might be here, one of the therapists. I've been there 7 years, and it's all about helping people with severe depression, suicidal ideation, drug, pills, alcoholism, ketamine, you name it, fentanyl. It's a world gone mad. And I just have this, education in the harmony of religion and spirituality and meditation and the art of creativity. And so we, meet one-on-one with people for 7 years now, and that takes up the rest of the time. So I think that's pretty much an overview. Are there any questions?
Let's put our hands together for Shadoe Stevens.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
Unbelievable life.
I want to welcome Tiffany. Tiffany, I'm so glad you can make it. Finally, we got her here. She's got an amazing story, too. I'd love to share your story someday. And Reverend Bill, thank you for making it.
Reverend Bill, love you.
Travis, thank you for being here. Lou, everybody that joined us, we're really grateful. Spread the word. This is where you get radical optimism. What do we call it, Shadoe?
The pursuit of radical optimism, yeah.
There you go. So we leave here happy. I don't care how you came in. You better leave happy. So, Mike, you get a little idea of what we do here. It's not quite what we normally do at other meetings, but I think it's got its own little lane. So I'm happy you guys get to share your story. I do want you to network with each other. I want you to mingle. I want you to create IPs together, projects together. So there's a little section where you guys go in the chat and you guys share what your needs are. And then people will go in there and share what they have. And if there's a match, I'll connect you guys. If it's money, we have money. If it's distribution, if it's AI production, if it's radio, we have Shadoe. So we have somebody that fits your needs. So just let us know what you want. With that being said, we are at the questions and answer section. So Shadoe is going to take some questions from you guys. So feel free just to jump in. You don't have to raise your hand or be polite. Just jump on the mic, turn your mic on. But when you are done, please turn your mic off. All right, any questions for Shadoe? Shadoe, I have one. After you your live theater, do you have any plans to take it on the road, maybe to the Sphere in Vegas or to Broadway?
Yeah, in a perfect world, yeah. There are a lot. In fact, there are a lot of immersive theaters popping up all over the country. Gil and I and Monty just went to Cosm last week and saw The Matrix in this sphere-like. It's like a mini sphere, but it's really amazing. And what they did is they took and it's like looking at it on a big IMAX screen, the regular movie, but then they match the backgrounds to surround you, and it absolutely looks real. It's like they're in an alley. It looks like you're in an alley. It looks like it's part of the picture. It's a seamless production. They must have spent a fortune on it. And then they showed trailers for, they do live sporting events, so basketball and football, and you are like right there on the floor with the basketball, and it's all around you. It's bigger than life. It's astonishing. So there's that going on all over the country, as well as a pursuit of immersive experiences. And we believe we have something special because it's a narrative and it has purpose. It isn't just, it's funny and it has amusing things and it has great music, and the music is really uplifting, but it all is in pursuit of optimism. We have a part of the mental radio conceit is that it is a team of optimisticals, MYSTICALS, mysticals, and that there's a whole backstory that involves Nikola Tesla and the people who were around at the turn of the century, and people who gathered together in secret to change mankind, to uplift mankind. And part of it's true, and part of it's completely made up. And you kind of like, it's like a conspiracy theory. It's like, is it real? Yeah, well, look it up. Yeah. Wireless energy transfer. It's like Nikola Tesla. That's like what it's all about.
That's very cool, Shadoe. I like that stuff. Thanks for sharing your story, man. That was funny. I was thinking to myself when I saw that Federated commercial and they had that 13-inch TV and it was like $187. And I'm just thinking to myself, because like we're looking right now and like $187 gets you like a 65-inch TV now.
I know.
Like flat screen, bendable, and like whatever the deal.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was actually, you brought up the Tesla thing, and I was going to ask you for this, for mental radio. Do you deal with frequencies, anything in that at all? Like the 528 or the 432? With your background, do you believe in that stuff? Do you see some science to it?
I do believe that there is a lot to that, and I haven't incorporated it. What I did focus on, because I'm doing it all myself. I did all the engineering and all the production and all the mixing and all everything. So I had to know what I could do in any kind of timely fashion. And even then, each episode would take me, at the beginning I did them pretty quickly, but then as I got more complicated and the ideas became more, had greater production value, I would take weeks to do a half hour and maybe a month. And then I would just get one out, and then little by little. And I have another one written, but I haven't been able to do it for a year because I've been consumed by Metal Radio Live because I believe in it so much. What I did is I focused on what you can do in the stereo spectrum, like left and right. And I've been doing this since K-Rock. I did that back in the 70s. I could never understand why people didn't use that three-dimensional space. They would do like soft like fades and things like they do in IMAX, and I'm just like, But I want assault. I want assault mixing. I want to jump here and there and come from behind and surprise you and use sound as a joke. And so that's where I really focused on what I could do in just the stereo land. And then when I produced all these songs right here in this little studio, a friend of mine has a Dolby studio, and he just mixed one of the songs in Dolby, and it's like, oh my God, this is like a whole other dimension. And this is what we hope to do on Mental Radio live. It'll be live like Dolby, or Sony has one now called a spherical sound that is pretty compelling, and we're looking into both of those.
That's awesome. I mean, if your goal was to like have it be jumpy and uplifting and like jumping around, you achieved that with that little video that we saw. I mean, boom, 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 for sure.
Yeah. Oh, look at this.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them, guys.
Yay.
I'm outnumbered.
I love kids. We have 3 granddaughters now.
Just radio.
Hard to believe.
Shadow, I saw, I don't know if anybody else saw a yellow butterfly or a bird fly above your head. Was I hallucinating, or
yes.
Was that?
Okay.
Yes, or else it came from my spirit, just to fuck with you. I mean, screw with you. Sorry.
Shadow, I have two questions. So first of all, I'm interested. I mean, if you had Howard Stern's agent at the time when he was presumably in NBC, I'm guessing that there were things that you turned down throughout your career. I think it would be interesting to know what those were. And then my second question is, I've always wondered this, and since you worked so much in radio, did it drive you crazy during the commercial breaks? Because commercial breaks got longer and longer as time went on in radio.
Well, to the first question, I can't actually think of anything I turned down. I always thought, if it's got some weight, I'd like to try it and see what I can do with it. Even American Top 40, because like my friends, I stepped into the shoes of Casey Kasem. And Casey Kasem was the most earnest man who ever lived. Very serious, very earnest. Keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars. I had never done anything that wasn't funny or satire or parody in my entire career. All my commercials, all of the stuff on the radio stations, I did radio theater at K-Rock and at KRLA and at KMET. Highly produced stuff, like really hard back in the days when you had, 2-track tapes and I had to tape things together. Got really good at it. It's a completely useless skill today. But as far as the commercials go, there's so much to do. There's so many things to think about when you're doing live radio without a producer. Now, this is the time, things got fancy after I left radio. Now they have producers and they have sidekicks, and I didn't have sidekicks or producers. I had me, and I had to make sure that the music, that the songs, and at first it was records that you had to queue up, and you had to have your stacks of records and these things. And then it became records and tapes and cartridges and cassettes and, all of this stuff. So there wasn't time to think about how long the commercials are going on. And I also would, especially during K-Rock, I would write stories between songs. And I would because I have this obsession about writing, and I urge people to do this, because when you become aware, words of the universe comes out on a billboard and on a random conversation in Starbucks or something you're watching on television, and you go, oh God, I'm just going to write that down. I don't know where it's going to go, but now I have Destiny Craving as the name of a character, or Trinity Fondue, or Phoebe Barkalot. I mean, just like a bunch of stuff. I don't know if I'm ever going to use it, but I have hundreds of pages of notes of things that come to me, suffocating under the weight of obsession. The gentle, lazy river of God. These are just things I wrote down in the last day. And when it comes time to write, you have all of these assets to turn to. So it comes time to write something new for Mental Radio. I go back to my notes, and then I find a phrase or a character or something that I'd not used, and it lights something up. And now I'm putting things together, and this works for emotional stability as well, because we can't think our way happy. Everything is, happiness is a direct result of action. And it's the taking of action that creates happiness. And you get a little excited, and then you get a little enthused, And then with a little enthusiasm, you get a little inspiration, and then inspiration plus excitement plus enthusiasm, and all of a sudden you've got something that didn't exist before that you created. And this goes for anything, whether it's a poem or a song or a script or anything, just dealing with life. Journaling, journaling, because you got to get it out of the impulses in your head into the world like puzzle pieces. You can't put together a 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle with your head in your mind. You have to see the pieces. And so writing gives you clarity. And so whatever it is you're working on, you learn that in the 12 steps of recovery programs. You have to write, and you write the stuff down. What do you believe? All that stuff comes into play as you're dealing with the ups and downs and the back and forth of having to not give up when everything has failed again. And that's what your brain does. Again? Come on. We got through that. And now what? I got to do what? And yeah, you got to do what?
Thanks very much. Really enjoyed your talk.
Thank you.
I want to piggyback onto the thing about what do you do during the commercial breaks, because that's when I first met Shadoe. I was a feature reporter at KRLA, and I would walk by, and there was a glass window you could look in and see the disc jockey. And I see this guy going, like, during the commercial breaks, he was pulling cartridges from here and flipping this around. And I would look at it and just be completely amazed at what he was doing. And so one day I waited until the show was over, and he stepped outside, and I said, "Man, what you do is just unbelievable. Like, how do you do that?" And he said, "Well, I've been doing it since I've been 10. So I said, "Okay, that explains it."
Yep. The weight of my obsession. Next, anyone?
Monty. Not Monty. Shadoe. You've alluded to your spiritual evolution. What do you know about how has your view of God evolved and changed over the years? What do you know now that maybe you didn't know or just know better?
This is another thing I take notes about. And what I encourage everyone to do, because when you get into, again, 12-step programs, the step 2 is like came to believe a power greater than yourself, a higher power. And a lot of people just brush over that. Yeah, I believe in something. I believe in the ocean crash. I can't stop the ocean, so I'll believe in that. I believe in the universe. And then they stop. But you look for what's wrong and you find more wrong, and you look for more wrong and you find it. Or you look for what's right and you find what's right and look for more right and find it. And by just being curious, if you look for physicists, just physicists, why do you believe? You'll find the most amazing quotes. I have collections of dozens of them. And philosophers and poets and great masters from India and ministers and rabbis and priests. And the list goes on and on. As you're curious, you find, and every time I find one, I write it down. And then I put it into a folder and I put it into a notebook, and I have, just in my notepad alone on spirituality, I found in the last month a wonderful poem by Rumi, the Sufi poet, called The Guest House. And he talks about this poem has to do with the wound is the place where the light enters you. And it highlights that the idea that pain can be a catalyst for transformation and enlightenment. What you look for, you'll find. And I went from, I had an acid experience, an out-of-body, like incredibly vivid, elevated glimpse of the beyond. And I thought, I've got to get back here without drugs. And I learned meditation, and I really took to it. I did transcendental meditation for 3 years, and I wanted something deeper and more personal, and I found Vedanta. And I discovered Swami Vivekananda, who was astonishing, an extraordinary mind. And there's a quote by Vivekananda, Swami Vivekananda, about why do we use the old word God? You should look it up. It's spectacular. And that has to do with, what do I believe in? And what do you write it down? So you write down, what do I believe in? That isn't dogma or mythology. Now, the mythology is like part of the Red Sea. Maybe change water to wine. Could it be in two places at once? Maybe, I hope. But it gives you pause. And atheists love to grab onto this kind of stuff like it really is deep. And they'll, oh, yeah, please. And all you poor, sad people believing in your imaginary friend. And it's the willing suspension of critical thinking. No, it's not. How about this? Swami Vivekananda said, why do we use the old word God? Now, from Vedanta, I got to Self-Realization Fellowship, and they both believe the same thing. It's about the harmony of religions, and it's about the belief that, yes, there is an infinite, incomprehensible, formless absolute. There is an original source, an original operating system, if you will. Let's call it God, for lack of a better, or the almighty mover, or the infinite what. Call it something. And what do I believe? Well, I believe that through meditation, as you collect this body of evidence, like all these things you believe because this poet said this, and the philosopher said this, and the physicist said this, and now I have a whole bunch of ammunition of things that really are smart by some of the smartest people who have ever lived that really relate to what I believe in. And that belief system is a bunch of words and ideas. But meditation is deeper than calm. What you want when you meditate is to go beyond calm into the transcendental state. And I've got another, I'll give you a great one here because I know where that is. David Lynch, big transcendental meditation guy. Let me read this to you because it's really profound. If you have a golf ball-sized consciousness, you'll have a golf ball-sized understanding, awareness, and wakefulness. If you could expand that consciousness, more awareness and wakefulness, consciousness, an ocean of pure consciousness is within each of us. It is at the source of all thought and matter. Meditation allows us to dive within to discover the subtler mind and intellect and transcend this ocean of pure consciousness. Pure consciousness is called by physics the unified field. Everything that is a thing emerges from this field. It has the qualities of bliss, intelligence, creativity, universal love, energy, and peace. It's not the intellectual understanding of this field, it is the experience. You dive in and you enliven it, you unfold it, and it grows. The final outcome of this growth is called enlightenment. It is the full potential of all of us human beings. The side effect of it all is that negativity starts to recede. Negative things like anger and depression and sorrow are beautiful things in a story, but like a poison to creativity. If you're depressed, you can't think ideas. So get consciousness growing, flowing with activity to catch ideas at a deeper level. This field is pure knowingness, and it is an ocean of solutions, which I love. The enjoyment of doing grows. In the Vedic science, this field is called the Atma. We are all one. It's a thing of beauty to appreciate life. So when you get into a deep state of meditation, it isn't just being calm. Your body is calm like in a sleep-like state that might feel like it's out here. And you're consumed in pure awareness. And the awareness is that part of us that isn't the body and the mind, it's the witness. It is the spirit. It is the divine spark. It is whatever you want to call it. It is that thing that addresses the world and experiences the world. And now when you're consumed in pure awareness, the deeper you go, the deeper there is to merge into. And that's the revelation and the validation of all of your body of evidence. All these words and ideas that you think, I believe in God because of, well, now it's an experience. And the experience is the profound revelation of everything you've been thinking. Boy, that was a rant. Where'd that come from?
Thank you. Thank you.
I wanted to introduce Jennifer joined us. Jennifer, thank you so much. She's the queen of Austin, and she was the queen of Hollywood for a long time, but she's here to join us. You guys, I want you to check out her AEB. It's AEB, right, Jennifer?
Yeah, it stands for All Entertainment Business, but it was founded as Austin Entertainment Business when I moved out from Hollywood to Austin.
You guys make sure you join her organization. She's really, 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 really connected. You will not regret it. So grow hers. She'll share her people with us. A lot of her people actually come to this. So thank you, Jennifer. I want to introduce you. Shadoe is our guest speaker today. So he's sharing his story and now about meditation, if any of you guys meditate. So Shadoe, why don't we get into a little bit of your meditative practices and how we do it? And then at the bottom of the half, which is about 7 minutes, why don't we do a 30-minute guided meditation or of your choice, Shadoe? And then that'll take us to the top of the hour.
Can I ask one question first?
Yes,
I know it deals with the meditation and all and focusing your mind, but I know you were a martial artist for a while. Is that right?
Yeah, for 20 years.
Do you find meditation works within that realm, or is it, why did you get into martial arts?
When I got sober, I realized I had a really active mind. I thought, I have got to get busy. And first of all, I'm 50 pounds overweight. So I went on a doctor-supervised fast, and I lost 50 pounds in about 2 months. Wow. And it was really hard. And part of that being really hard is that I had to exercise every day. So I signed up for yoga on every other day and martial arts every other day. So for 5 years, I did Kung Fu and really liked it, Wing Chun. And then I was introduced to Benny the Jet, who is like Bruce Lee. He was like the undefeated world kickboxing champion in 5 weight divisions in his whole life. He was never beat. Ended every one of his fights with a standing backflip. He's just amazing. You should look him up, Benny the Jet. And then one of the greatest action sequences ever shot on film is him and Jackie Chan, and he's extraordinary. And which is interesting because part of that is about meditation as well. There's a deep practice of meditation as part of real martial arts. And we talked about that. And then he says, when you get in the ring, bob and weave, keep moving. If you get hit, don't take it personal. Keep your sense of humor. And went, wow. And he said that maybe 1,000 times at the time I've known him. When you get in the ring, bob and weave, keep moving. If you get hit, don't take it personal. Keep your sense of humor. It works for life because we do have to bob and weave. We have to keep moving. If we get hit, better be able to laugh at yourself because life gets tricky. And part of meditation, and his wife is a Native American who flies all over and has people come from all over the world to meet with her. And she is like I don't know, she's a real spiritual power. They're both an amazing couple, and that all goes hand in hand with my other practices. So I lost the weight and I got in great shape, and I still love it.
Thank you.
All right, last call for questions, and then we're going to go into our meditative practice. Last call for questions. All right, Shadoe, the floor is yours if you want to guide us or tell us the best way.
Okay, well, just for an introduction, because a lot of people talk about meditation, and they're all good. There isn't a bad meditation. And there's like mindfulness. And mindfulness is like you go sit on a park bench and you just smell the fresh cut grass and you listen to the birds and you hear the children laughing and you watch a butterfly go by and you're not in the future and you're not in the past and you get calm, and it's quite good and it's good to do. And obviously what you're thinking at that point is thank you. Thank you for everything that's right. And the more you think about thank you for everything that's right, the more you think about what's right and the better it gets. And then you realize all the things you take for granted. Well, that's all good. Guided meditation is also good. And guided meditation is you turn your attention over to a voice. And the voice says, picture yourself on a path. And as you're walking down the path in a forest, off to the right is a gentle brook. And you can hear the crickets and the frogs and the sound of the water. And now you're in a narrative. and you're listening to it and you're forgetting about the future and about the past, and you're watching a movie in your head, and you get quiet and you get calm, and it's really good. The problem is that our minds are chattering all the time, and it gives time for the critic in your head to go, I've been down this path before. I wish he had a different voice, maybe a female voice. And it's like crickets, I can't do this. And the same thing with mindfulness. I'm sitting there and I'm going, okay, I'm focusing on the kids laughing, and it's like, oh, it's in the birds. I can't do this because I've got an email to change, and I forgot to take a shower, and I've got a meeting coming up, and blah, 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 blah. So the real thing about meditation is, beside the fact that you want to go beyond calm, is that it's all about focus. It's about, and I would use the word concentration, but concentration makes you think in terms of clenched teeth. It's it's not that. It's about putting all of your awareness on one thing. And in yoga, they teach you to start with the breath. So that's what we'll start with. And since it's all about focus, there are things that I will suggest that you focus on that are ancillary to just breathing. So it doesn't give your mind time to go, well, I got to go do this. And this isn't working for me. It must work for him. It's not for me. And then pretty soon you get up and you're agitated. Well, I tried this meditation stuff. Okay, so what we want to do is focus. And one of the focuses when you close your eyes is the spiritual eye. It's an energy center right between your eyebrows. They call it a chakra. There's a crown chakra, there's a chakra between your eyes, in your throat, your heart, and 3 down below. And all of these are like spinning vibration energy centers. And the easiest one to access is when you close your eyes, you turn your eyes upward, and you put it between your eyebrows. And what you're looking for is a golden ring with a little tiny 5-pointed star in the middle and a blue field. You probably won't see it, but that's the ideal. And it isn't like you will it, you can imagine it, but just imagining it is enough because it's about focus. So the first focus, and if I invite you to just sit upright because you don't want to fall asleep, you want your spine to be straight because all of the energy is in your spine. And you close your eyes and you breathe in. I'll put this microphone here so you can hear this. And you breathe in through your nose. So our eyes are closed and we breathe in, and notice that it feels cool when you breathe in. And that's the first focus. And when you breathe out, it feels warm. Feel the warmth. Now I have something different to concentrate on. I'll focus on the cool in and the warm out. Now notice that it sounds like the ocean. As it goes in, it goes. And it goes out, it's the ocean crashing. So it's a cool ocean in and warm out. We'll pause a little between the breath. In we listen to the ocean. We allow it to go a little slower. Now we add a spiritually charged word, and the first word is Om. It's Om. So we go in through the nose. You're thinking. It's called the sound of creation because it has frequencies in it found in all of creation. It goes. Now do it for yourself as you breathe in, think Om. And again. And let it go a little slower. Don't forget the spiritual eye. And we can add a different mantra. It's called Hong Sa. And as you breathe in, think Hong, Hong. And then Sa. It's like SAW, Sa. It's a powerful mantra handed down for thousands of years. It makes you quiet, and you can even use it to get to sleep. Just do it to yourself with your mind. And feel it down into your fingertips. Into your toes. And all the cells in your body. And just continue to repeat the mantra, and it absorbs the mind. when you get most quiet, it's then that you want to say something to your higher power, like God, whoever you are, whatever you are. Show me what to do with every breath, with every beat of my heart, moment by moment, hour by hour, day by day, waking and sleeping. Om. Peace. Amen. Amen came from Om. Aum. And then take a deep breath and let it all out. And wiggle your fingers and toes. And we're back.
Thank you so much, Shadoe.
Yeah. That's good.
I wasn't going to meditate. I was going to watch the room, but you drew me in.
Oh, good.
I had no choice. Yeah. What do you think, Mike? Let's talk to Mike Connolly. I'm going to call you out.
Good Lord. Thanks, Tony. Thank you, Shadoe. Yeah, it's as you were talking about the busyness of the mind, that's been one of the troubles. In athletics, I did transcendental meditation when I was in my teens, and I never could get to that quiet spot. And there was always an excuse. Yeah. Today, there was something different today.
Great. Well, the thing is, it's how it, and generally transcendental meditation is really good about the introduction. Sometimes for a really active mind when you're young, they don't quite get you there. But generally, it's all about focus. And I've not found a better way to describe it than to say, focus on this, focus on that, and all these things all go with the breath. And then when you add the mantras, there's a wonderful thing about mantras too that I'll see if I can find here. Yeah, Thich Nhat Hanh, the Buddhist monk, has a writing about it. Let me read that. Unlike a prayer, which channels a hope at some imagined entity capable of interceding in favor of that hope, and has only a side benefit, its only real and robust benefit, the psychological self-clarification that comes from honing our hopes in language. This is good writing. It's like, he's good. A mantra is not addressed at anything or anyone external and is entirely devoted to distilling the object of hope to its clearest essence. This, in and of itself, transforms the hope into an intent, making it more actionable, but also saving it from the particular complacency against which Descartes admonished as he considered the vital relationship between fear and hope. A mantra is therefore a form of magical thinking. For while there is a sense of magic to how much distillation seems to shift the situation by its very utterance, it is an entirely practical sort of magic. For a mantra simply clarifies, concentrates, and consecrates, to make holy or sacred, your intent. And all meaningful transformation springs from purposeful, devoted intent. So a mantra is a kind of magical formula that once uttered can entirely change a situation. It can change us, it can change others, but this magic formula must be spoken with concentration, with body and mind, and focused as one. Everything we're talking about, it's all that. The mantra, focused, changes everything. It changes the nervous system, it quiets the mind, and allows you to experience awareness. And it's that awareness, like we were just talking about, that at the beginning, David Lynch, talking about expanding the field of awareness, and that can only come through practice. So even if you only do it for 10 minutes a day or 20 minutes a day, but do it every day, I promise you, it gets deeper and better and more magical. It's there will come times when you go, I don't really want to do this. Oh God, okay, here we go, and you make yourself do it. But then the very next day, go, oh my God, that was extraordinary. And there are things that happen, experiences that happen, that are so profound that you can't put them in words. I can't share them with you, things that have happened to me. Bill is an expert at this. Bill has been all over the world and meditated in caves in the Himalayas and met with great masters and died 3 times and came back from the body and has gone through 38 surgeries. It's like some amazing. Bill is the spiritual guru to us all. He knows more than anybody, and go look at his YouTube videos where he talks. There's a lot of them. He's got a lot of books as well. Reverend Bill McDonald, he's the man.
You know, Shadoe, I find when I meditate, I actually hear my destiny. Like when busyness of life is going on, and I think the more physical I am, the more I'm going to get somewhere. I've found that it's just the opposite. You're getting further and further from the truth. It's your choice. But when I meditate, I find that I hear God's, my higher power's choice tells me, no, you need to go in this direction. And I always find it's a way better. I end up in a way better place than my choices.
You know, the thing of it is, and I've experienced this hundreds of times. I'm trying to solve something I'm doing. And I run out, and you get frustrated and you get tense, and then I go to meditate. And my goal is to not solve any problems, not think about life, not about anything but the focus, the breath, the mantra, getting quiet, and then we get into that space where it's called the no mind state, where your brain stops chattering, and the breathless state where you stop breathing for long periods of time. And you're consumed in awareness, and then gurgle, gurgle, an idea comes up, and you go, "Oh, that's a good idea. I got to remember that for later." Gurgle, gurgle, another idea comes up. Oh yeah, fine. It's like I don't want to be there thinking about that now. But then after I get done with my meditation, all of these ideas are fully formed through no effort whatsoever. It just comes out of the ether or something, out of somewhere. I don't know. It is remarkable.
Greg, I don't know if you can share. I know you have your camera off, but obviously with that screensaver, how can I not call on you? Are you able to share, Greg? Greg is my buddy from Agape, from our friends group, and
love Agape.
Yeah, he's just a great producer, director, musician. You see his studio he built. Is there anything you can share, Greg? I know you're a big meditator.
I just want to thank Shadoe for sharing your experience, strength, and hope with us, and your meditation and your sobriety story and your work history as well. I really appreciate it. I related to so much that you said. I'm a sober man too for 25 years, and I do a daily meditation practice. I started a meditation meeting on Sunday evenings, and before I leave the house, I say, get quiet. And I just love what you said about that quiet time, and then going to, my God, and spending that time. That's where it resides for me. And as you said too, the experience from that cannot be explained in words. Words would not do justice to the experiences that I have as a result. So yeah, I'm really grateful. And a sidebar, I'm in a basement. I built my studio here, but I want to find out maybe through Tony about your mic setup. You have awesome voice anyway. Your voice is fantastic.
Thank you.
But your mic setup, I'd like to know about, whether you're running to an interface or.
I can hook you guys up if you guys want to chat for sure, Greg.
I'd love to if he's willing to.
Sure, absolutely.
So, Greg, put your information in the chat for Shadoe. If you want it public, put it in for everybody. If you want it just to Shadoe, then direct it to Shadoe. But it'll be in the chat, Shadoe.
Okay.
Thank you.
You've got a very spiritual name. How are you doing?
What, Shadoe?
I'm good. Yes, Ram. My father is from India. I was raised Hindu. My Genev, which is a thread ceremony, where we are given our very first mantra. I wear it as beads that was given to me by a 90-year-old Buddhist nun. The day that I almost committed suicide. I'm also sober. And I found myself in a 24-hour meditation room in a Buddhist temple in Poolsville, Maryland, near the Potomac River, and I was going to throw myself into the river. And I was driving, and I saw this welcoming house and stupas around it, which are these giant statues in the Buddhist tradition. And I went in there, and Ani Dorje gave me these 17 years ago, and I came back to that, and there was a 12-step meeting there. She told me to come back the next day, and this is just one part of my story. It made me think of that mantra, because every morning the Gayatri mantra is something that as soon as I wake up and I put these beads on, and this is my Jernev, this is my thread, and it is this sort of continuation of the cycle of life. It's representative of that. And the Gayatri mantra is much longer. It's Om Bhur Swaha Tatsaya Viturenium Bargo Devatsya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. And I was taught that when I was 6 years old. Usually they teach it to you when you're about 11, 12, 13 years old. But it happened that my older brother was having his thresh ceremony, and we were in India. And my family is from the Brahmin caste, and my father was a Sanskrit scholar, and he taught us everything about Hinduism and Vipassana meditation, yogic breathing, from very young age. And I really, Shadoe, I'm so sorry. I was leading a 12-step meeting at 7 p.m. And I so regret uh, not missing your lead. But as soon as I jumped in the car and I saw that text from Tony with the link, I jumped on here. So and I very much appreciate your leadership and the Hong Sa. I've never heard that mantra before, and I will practice that. I have a 20 to 30 minute meditation practice, but as soon as I wake up, I'm saying that Gayatri mantra while I'm feeding the dogs. I put my AirPods in, and I have a playlist from Apple Music, the meditation playlist, ambient, music of waterfalls and crickets and all that, those sorts of things that kind of focus me. And then I feed my dogs and my cats, and then I come in, make my cup of coffee, and come into my office and sit down and say my prayers as directed by the 12-step program that I'm in. And it is the linchpin of my day, and no matter what comes after that, I feel prepared. I feel like I have put my armor on to endure whatever trials and tribulations and slings and arrows of, right, outrageous fortune, as they say. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Ram, thank you for being here. Some of you guys know, and now all of you are going to know, Ram is on the heart transplant list. Talk about having gratitude for life every day he wakes up. you never know if today's the day, right? And so he's grateful, and I learn a lot from watching him. Every single morning, he and Mike and I are seeing each other, and his gratitude is absolutely amazing. And so he's still trying to do some amazing things and take over the world. And so you guys want to know a guy that's living the talk. That Ram is a good guy to know. Reverend Bill McDonald, would you be willing to share anything? I know you have a very deep story, but I'd love to hear just a sample. Maybe we get you in here for an hour or share.
Yeah, first off, I want to apologize. I was going to get off the operating table and get here quicker, but had to recover. They wouldn't let me out of the hospital, so that's my excuse. Otherwise, I would have been here dead or alive. Yeah, for those that don't know me, and that probably includes my wife of 63 years or whatever I've been married. My quest is it's not necessarily the normal average path. I've always been on this quest. I've always been since I've been a child, young as I know. I've been meditating since, I don't know, 18 months old or whatever. And when I was 8 years old, I had a near-death experience. I was put in the hospital with an incurable, at that time, kidney disease and lung disease. And I had a near-death experience first night there, and I ended up spending a year there, but started learning techniques while I was total bed rest. No television, no radio, no entertainment, no Shadoe on the radio, nothing. I had just me, 8-year-old child, alone with only visitors 10 minutes a week. That was it. So just basically talking to adults, taking my temperature and giving me shots. But it's been that. It sounds like that was a fantastic thing and got me going, but that really wasn't it. Every day of my life, something of that capacity, sometimes greater, happened. I was giving advice 4 days ago to a lady. She was debating whether to come to my retreat at Mount Shasta in May. Somebody said, "Oh, contact Bill," and she didn't know me. She was, kind of critical minded. And I come on the screen with her, and I'm looking at her, and she's looking at me, and all of a sudden, you see behind me, it's just clear, right? All of a sudden, there was this fog, like the fog came in and swirling around me. She's seeing it. She's going, "Well, what's that?" And I said, "Well, we're not alone." And I said, "In a moment or two, we're probably going to have orbs." And as soon as I finished saying that, these orbs are going, choo, 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 I had her at that point. And then we ended up talking about her mother's passing a couple of months before, and she was crying and everything. And I tried to let her know that it's the right time for her. You already agreed on this before you came into this lifetime. It was perfect timing, and she's done her job for you. Now it's time for you to go on. And then she finally, "Oh, I understand." And as soon as she said that, the fog, this whatever this was around me, dissipated. It was totally clear again. So she's no doubt coming to my retreat. I don't plan these things, but things like that happen all the time. It's like Shadoe walking down the street and a bird dropping a snake in his yard, right? So that's another whole story, Shadoe. But
yeah, that's right. That's another one.
Yeah, but I have a YouTube channel. I got about a dozen books out there, many in Spanish and some in German. I go around the world on my own dime. I pay for everything. It's like this retreat. I spend in between $5,000 and $7,000 on this retreat, and inviting people to come. And I'm only asking whatever you want to donate. Now, how many people do that? Whatever you want to donate. I could lose $5,000, $7,000. You know what? You know what usually happens? I break even, or I make a little bit extra so I can do another event. And so I've been going around. I was just in Vienna. I was just in Prague. I was in Edinburgh. I was in London. I've been in India many, many times. Wherever I go, people receive the message with the same open heart. So tomorrow, I'm on an airplane in the morning, and I'm flying to Salt Lake City, where I'm going to be giving a lecture to probably 125 or 30 Mormons. I've been there before. They love me. I talk no religion. I talk no dogma, no mythology. Don't go down that path. I basically talk about three things: love, forgiveness, and gratitude. And I start with the most important love, self-love. and teaching people that when you love yourself, people say, how do you love yourself? And I always say, well, how do you love God? It's the same. So when I was in Prague, I'll make it short. So I was just in Prague and I was being introduced on stage at this theater, and the theater was full. It was an empty seat. In fact, there was a line outside, couldn't get in. I didn't realize in Czechoslovakia people were going to be coming out for me. And the announcer talks to me just before I go on stage and says, you know, Bill, Reverend Bill, 80% of this country is atheists, according to the United Nations. We're the I don't know if you guys knew that, but that's the leading country in the world for atheists. 80% don't believe in religion or God. And I said, don't worry about it. It's my audience. So the first thing I did when I got up there, I said, I want to see a show of hands. How many believe in love? And of course, everybody's hands go up. And I go, great, we believe in the same thing. Now we'll start. So I took it from that place. I was supposed to speak for 45 minutes, ended up speaking for almost 2 hours. They didn't want to leave. We're hungry. All of us are hungry. We're looking for that divine connection. And so I teach people that connection. Everything you want is within. I tell people, don't look for a savior outside yourself. Look in the mirror. You're your own teacher, your own guru, your own healer. You're your best friend. God is you. You are God. I find it wrong to say, I am God. I think it's better that you say, we are God. Us are God. There's only one, but it's all of us. Well, that in a nutshell is kind of what I do. And thank you, Shadoe and Tony, for allowing me to come here, Mike.
Really appreciate you being here. We're going to officially wrap it up at the top, but I would like to keep going for those that want to stay on. Those that want to leave, don't feel bad, guilty, just jump off. Monty and I are working on some projects. We have from punk to pastor, and it's a script that Monty wrote. Monty's a very devout Christian, and he's written 5, 6, 7 with his son movies that have all been made. They've been produced, funded, distributed, and he's doing more. So there's no stopping Monty. Monty's still surfing. Are you 70 yet, or almost 70? I think.
74.
Oh my God! And he's still surfing. He still goes to Peru. He still makes movies. He still does insane physical activity, and so he's an example as well. So I just wanted to put a spotlight on Monty really quick. And then Anna, I don't know if you in China, if you had studied Buddhism or Christianity or what your background is, but I'd love to talk to you after Monty. Monty, just share a little bit about your not religion, but how you're driven to write movies and where you channel all your material from.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for that, Tony. That's I'm so flattered, man. You made my day. I was taken away first by Shadoe talking about, I call it the golden age of rock radio, and I'm just remembering what it felt like to listen to the radio back then, and the great disc jockeys back then who made poetry. Didn't you guys do that? It was poetry with psychedelic music, and it was just mind blowing. It just said that kind of it was growing up, and I guess we're the same age, Shadoe, aren't we? You're a child of the '60s, aren't you?
Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, that's what launched me, and I've been a searcher all my life, and sent me off to Peru when in my 20s, and had some adventures there. I had a Midnight Express adventure. I was thrown in jail, and they planted drugs on me and wanted to extort money out of me, and I was able to escape. And from that came 20, 30, 25 years of trying to write a screenplay about that experience. And I finally did it in 2010. And the movie finally came out called $186 to Freedom. And I thought that would be it. Okay, I've written my screenplay. I can go off. I can retire. I'll do whatever they want. But no. As you say, life's relentless. You don't stop there. And so, I mean, I've had, the next thing I had was, I got back from Peru after, making this movie. And the next thing I know, I get robbed up in the mountains over the 4th of July weekend, and I have to hitchhike alone. I'm 59 years old. I don't have a shirt. I have to hitchhike from Sequoia to L.A. to get my car keys because I don't have any. I don't have a car. I don't have a wallet. I don't have anything. Over the 4th of July weekend, I had to hitchhike home. Back, this was like 10, 15 years ago, and I made it. And I get home and I tell I got a black friend named Orlando. You guys know Orlando. And I say, Orlando, I had to hitchhike. And I know it was awful. And dude, the only reason you got home is because you're white. If you're a black guy, you'd still be out there on the highway. I said, oh my God, you're right. Thank you. That's a screenplay. So that was my second movie, 5th of July. It's a comedy about a black guy who the same thing happens to him, and so all of the other screenplays that I've written are based on whatever happened to me, like out in the road or in a jail in Peru, or it's a mix of something that happened to somebody else, a friend of mine. The Holocaust. We know a Holocaust victim who was a slave in Auschwitz, had to work for Dr. Mengele, but he survived and he forgave the very Nazis who had tortured him. He had a chance to shoot them, but he couldn't lift up the gun, and he said, no, thou shalt not kill. And he forgave those people. And that was another screenplay. And then, oh my gosh, I've been blessed with so many great experiences in my life that I just, keep on writing, and I've written like, 20. Lou gave me an idea the other day. We were talking. He says, "Well, I'd like to see samurais fighting in the Civil War with Abraham Lincoln." That sparked another idea, and so I said, "No, not samurais. Let's make it Maasai warriors." And so for the last week, with this AI that I've been learning in this class, I'm like 2/3 of the way finished with this script, and it's the best. It's some of the best writing I've ever made. And I don't know when these ideas are going to stop. I think I've written my. No, there's no more. But they keep coming.
Amazing.
And keep them coming, Monty. And just to piggyback off what Monty's saying, guys, he's working on. We got 12 different projects that we're working on right now. Monty's writing that crazy story about Lincoln and the Civil War and the Maasai warriors. But if it's okay, Tony, I'd like to share our pitch deck for the Screaming Club, which is a horror movie with a whole ensemble of children. But it's got a pretty weird twist at the end. And beyond that one.
Yeah,
Can we show it now?
Yeah, you show it. Will it be short?
No. I'll just share it in the chat, and then you guys can click on it as you want. There's a trailer on there. There's a synopsis, and
perfect.
You guys can see it as you want. Is that
Great.
okay?
I definitely want to see it. Tony, I have to leave. I have to go see
wrap it up with
Eddie Izzard. Eddie Izzard doing Hamlet tonight at the Montalban
Everybody,
Theater.
I really want to officially wrap it up. Let's give Shadoe a big round of applause for spending so much time with us, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Please stop.
Stop more. So we really love Shadoe. I've been working with him for a while. He's one of our favorite alignments, people that we're working with. We're trying to support his live show. You guys support each other in your social media, so go to all of our social medias, like, subscribe, that whole fun thing that influencers say. We do this every week. Next week we have Damian Lichtenstein. He did 3,000 Miles to Graceland.
Yeah, don't miss that.
You're going to miss it?
No, don't miss it.
Oh, don't miss it. Yeah, definitely don't miss it. So each week we're bringing in guests. And so you guys share this with a friend. The more the merrier, the more that we can borrow from, right? Monty gets his films made. He actually funds his own. But I'd like to see other investors invest in Monty. I'd like to see an investor invest in Shadoe and all of you guys' IP. So we're going to officially wrap this up. Those of you that want to chatter a little bit for 5 or 10 minutes, you're more than welcome to stick around and network. Shadoe, thank you. Really, really appreciate you.
Thank you, Tony. I appreciate it.
Enjoy.
Have a great night, everybody. See you soon. Next week, maybe.